Live. Welcome, everyone, to the Shifting Lanes Garage Show. For the second week in a row, we actually have a functioning Gregson.
Ooh, functioning is a very generous term, but present and accounted for is definitely an okay term to use.
I'm not solo, so this is a great thing.
Yes,
How you doing, my dude?
I'm good. I am caffeinated, not recently, but I'm caffeinated today. I'm awake. I feel like I can actually stay up for a stream for once. Maybe not till 11:30, but it will actually not look like I'm actively conking out an hour in. Um, Chad is, I'm here and Chad has vacated the premises already. I like that. It's like, yes, Greg's here, and bye.
It's like, and the show is yours.
The show is mine, and Chad just, can you imagine? You just leave. It's like, cool, you're awake. I'm gonna go take a nap. Peace.
Well, just the hilarious nature of like, Greg, you're here. Tell us what you've been up to. I can't be bothered.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's super interesting. Immediately pass out. Yes, we're here. We're talking cars. We got lots of fun stuff to chat about. It's good. Things are good.
They're better than good. We have a lot of stuff coming. We have some New York Auto Show news. Well, the New York Auto Show news I actually give a shit about,
Yeah.
which is one car. And I'll give you one guess what it was. Cough, thumbnail, cough, cough.
Car, race car.
So, okay, good. We're live on YouTube. Sorry, I'm like
So
working like three different things at the moment.
so what Chad is trying to do is we're trying to like see if we can simulcast on different YouTube channels. So we're live on our Facebook page and then our YouTube channel, Shifting Lanes Garage. We're not live on the regular Shifting Lanes page. What we're doing is we're doing a test on a different YouTube channel. I think one of Chad's personal channels just on the side,
Hmm.
just because it's we're trying to see if we can do like a multi-stream with like either guests or things like that. So that's what we're actively doing beta testing as we're live streaming tonight. So bear with us.
Yes, and it doesn't appear to be working. But in any rate,
Solid.
no, I mean,
Good
it's waiting for
news.
me to connect the software, even though I never hit the live button. But hey, you know what? Nobody cares.
Cool. Cool. Cool.
Fun times. And then I don't know why.
Whatever.
Like, there's so many little things that are irritating me about the things at the present. But we're gonna start today's show with Greg replacing the tire. No, I'm kidding.
Oh God, not again.
The live
We
stream.
don't have another 4 hours for a stream, Chad.
I still think it would be hilarious if you just set up your camera one day doing the tires, and it'll be like the what is it? Those sleep streams that some of the dumb streamers have done, and it's you just changing a
Yes.
tire, just like, and like I set up like air horns and various different like sound effects in your
It would
garage
be
based on donation amount. Like
it
if
would be
it,
great if we somehow could do it live, but it's actually just a loop of me doing like some ratchet work, but the ratchet is actually just like it just keeps spinning, and I keep looking at it, keeps spinning, and then I walk off camera, and then that's when the loop cuts of me coming back and doing the same thing. It's like a 5 to 10 minute loop, and it just keeps going, just to it's just to see how long people sit there, man. Like, man, this
oh,
guy's an idiot. What's he do? How is this not working? He keeps using the same wrench. What is going on?
well, what is it? There's actually a reel out there of a husband like how to get time away from the wife, and he has the car jacked up, and then like he has like I guess on his cell phone or whatever, but he's got like a tablet and a cell phone, and on like the cell phone, it's just the sound a ratchet makes, like
Yeah, yeah.
crick 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 crick, like but the and it would stop this and it would stop and it was like random intervals so it didn't feel like but it was just audio on a loop and he's got the tablet and he's like watching like a NASCAR race or like
I was gonna say, does he have a pillow underneath the car taking a nap?
yeah pretty much
Nice. That's fantastic.
Sean Yonderson, welcome, gentlemen, to the show.
Yes. Thank you for joining.
Get one of those massive ratchets and use an absurd amount of it also would be funny if you're sitting there and you have all the extensions and like
Yeah.
what are the joints? But like the where like you're literally just doing this and it's connected to like a wheel behind like your back wheel just
Yes. It starts moving.
for all the torque.
That'd be great. Uh, well, while we have people joining, let's start talking about car stuff. So,
We were literally talking about the most important car stuff possible.
well, true, but I'm talking about like
Greg's
actual,
Ratchet
like,
ASMR stream coming to a social media near you.
oh God, just like, hello, welcome to the stream.
It's just 4.5 hours of ratchet noises. Here is a 1/4 inch drive. Here's 3/8. Here's 1/2 inch.
I'll be honest, I don't understand those ASMR channels. Like, they're just like this isn't soothing. You know what's soothing? You shutting up and not doing that.
I
Put
mean,
on some like music that you get when you have a massage. That like ambient, loungy, relaxing kind of stuff. That's ASMR to me. That's lovely. Like a little water dripping in the background from a fountain. That's wonderful.
I believe
But
those are
just like
called white noise on.
right, yeah, like the white noise is great. The tapping on the freaking microphone, the like mashing of like slime and like
Oh, the
jello and
worst
shit.
is the
Like,
ones where like the chicks are
stop!
doing like mouth noises, and it's like,
Oh God.
oh,
Just
one of the worst, my worst pet peeves. Like one of the things that will like actively like involuntarily start me twitching with rage is hearing someone eat.
oh yeah, correct. Yeah. Just just end it. Just end me at that point. I'm just it's awful. It's absolutely awful.
Yes. Sean
Done.
wants to see you remove center locks. I feel like that would be making it too easy on him.
I was gonna say that'd actually be easy. It's only one thing. As opposed to five little things that are annoying.
Yep.
Enhance? Enhance?
We could go full zoom on Greg.
Oh, please no. No one,
Thousand
no
star.
one wants to see that.
1,000 stars and Greg's POV becomes just his eyes.
I'll just go stand by the car at that point. I'll podcast from the sunroof. I'll just stick my head out the top.
No, because then we'll get even more of the blinding white of your garage.
Yeah, that's true. So the one thing that we did want to talk about from New York Auto Show that's actually interesting is because race car. That thing.
The,
Yeah. So that's the new Cadillac, right?
No.
That's the new Ferrari, right?
Nope. And
That's
before
the
you ask, it
new-
looks a lot like the Alpine and it looks a lot like the Acura. It is neither.
That's what I'm
It does
getting at.
share the same chassis constructor. In this case, Orica or Orica, depending on things of note. But it has a little Korean flag on it, which should tell you, and obviously the headlights and the side sills should tell you that this is in fact a Genesis.
Mm. And it's nice looking, just like all the others, because they all look the same. But I do
They
like
don't.
I do like this. I know, but I do like the split headlights. The split headlights look really pretty sweet on this, honestly.
Like, so before we get into sort of like the as much of the technical specs as we know of this car, I am curious as to how effective those lights will be. Um,
I mean, look, they make really powerful lights that are really small now. I think it'll be just fine.
right, but we're like 10 years removed from Audi introducing cars with freaking laser beams attached to their headlights.
That's true. That's true.
But at any rate, so what this actually is this the first unveiling and first public look at what the actual Genesis GMR 001 is going to look like. And if you're unfamiliar with this style of racing, we're going to get into some pretty nerdy stuff on it. But the short version of it is that this is a car that is designed to tackle the world's endurance classics. Meaning Le Mans, first and foremost. So this thing in 2026, so next year, will be tackling the World Endurance Championship under the hypercar class, where it will compete with Cadillac, Ferrari, Peugeot, Alpine, Aston Martin, Porsche, BMW, and I'm forgetting. Did I say Ferrari? Because Ferrari.
Nope, Ferrari's there too.
You know, it's a golden age for sports car racing. You guys hear me talk about that all the time, to the borderline, to the point of annoyance. But Genesis is joining in 2026, and in 2027 they will be racing in IMSA with a to be determined partner. So think like a Chip Ganassi, a team based in the United States to run the day to day with support from the Genesis factory or the Hyundai Motorsports factory, Magma, as it were.
Liquid hot magma.
And frankly, I love the all orange livery. I'm a big fan of orange. I love the way this looks. I hate the fact that like almost every team is running some various shade of either white or black. There's not really much that's standing out among like the factory programs these days. So I think it's, you want to get noticed, this is how you get noticed.
Yeah.
So, like I said, the class this car will be racing in is in World Endurance Championship, i.e. Le Mans. It'll be in the quote-unquote hypercar class. And that is split into two different rule sets. The first rule set is what's known as LMH, or Le Mans Hypercar. That's where the Ferrari, the Peugeot, the Aston Martin, that's where all of those live. And that is a clean sheet design. So meaning the Ferrari chassis is different, doesn't share a chassis with anyone else. And this will make sense in a moment. They have a little bit more of a budget to play with because obviously they're designing the car from a clean sheet. Also, the second rule set is what's known as LMDH, which stands for Le Mans Daytona H. Literally just H. Don't ask.
For hypercar.
Right. And those cars are eligible to race in the hypercar class in the World Endurance Championship and the GTP, or Grand Touring Prototype class, in IMSA. And what they are is there's a bunch of approved chassis manufacturers for the LMP2 class, the second tier prototypes, the class just below the car you're seeing on your screen. And what OEMs are allowed to do is to pick a chassis partner, work with them, and come up with something that is OEM-inspired bodywork. So obviously we have a Genesis that's got a lot of round, flowy features similar to their cars. Obviously the headlights play a big deal in it. But, like I said before, this car's chassis is built by Orica. And Orica does the chassis for the Acura in IMSA and the Alpine in WEC. So that's why you see like this blade in the front. That's a hallmark of the Orica chassis. So the OEM doesn't have to spend a metric shit ton of money. They basically do the body work and they do the engine. There's a spec hybrid system that I think adds like 60 or 80. I'm pretty sure it's somewhere between 60 and 80 horsepower. The internal combustion engine can be whatever the hell you want. It just has to, they balance the performance of the engines so they all make roughly 670 horsepower. And this is the side of the rule set that Porsche's in, Cadillac is in, BMW is in, Acura, Alpine, the list goes on and on and on and on. Because it's an easy way. A lot of the development is already done for you by the chassis manufacturer. What's interesting about this car is that it is a V8. It is not based on any sort of Genesis production V8. What it is based on is the rally car engine, the Hyundai rally car, 4-cylinder, that they put into a V. And there's something like 60% of shared components between that 4-cylinder and this V8. So it's going to be a twin turbocharged V8. I no details on whether it's going to be cross plane or flat plane. And now that sounds like, holy crap, this thing has 2 rally car engines. That's nuts. It is, but you got to keep in mind these cars, they're BOP'd to a certain level. They have the hybrid system, and they have what's known as torque sensors on the rear axles, which measure output. So, if you say your turbo, let's say you're on your boost pressure, right? They're like, okay, the car's too fast in a straight line, or it's too fast accelerating. We got to reduce power a little bit, so they give you less boost, or they do this. They're really giving you a power output figure at the axle that you can't exceed. So even if you have some sort of clever, okay, we'll reduce boost by 5 psi, but we found a clever way around that to bring the power back, they'll know, and you'll get whacked with a penalty. I don't know how I feel about that side of it. What it also brings into equation is this thing called virtual energy, which annoys the ever-living piss out of me. Because when you, in a normal race car, let's just say, we'll keep it simple, a NASCAR. You go in, you put fuel in, you go out. When the tank's empty, the tank is empty. That's it. Or when you need more gas, you need more gas. With these cars, another purpose the torque sensors serve is to effectively monitor and the energy output of the car. So whether it be internal combustion or the hybrid drive or the combination thereof. The car, so that's 670 horsepower. That is the max power the car can make. All of the cars can do that on their internal combustion engines, but the hybrid system comes in. It's not another 70 on top of that. It's actually reducing the internal combustion engine by 70 horsepower, let's just say. But what it does is it brings into this thing called virtual energy, which is effectively measuring the amount of energy that is coming out of the back axles, regardless of hybrid, ICE, etc. And that is your energy tank. So you could legitimately have another lap of gasoline in the car, but you're going to run out of virtual energy, which annoys me. It makes it.
This sounds like some stupid thing that, like, and I hate to do this, but this sounds like something that NASCAR would implement, because they've tried to do so many gimmicks to, like, get people to watch. Like, this sounds like a gimmick.
The thing is
it doesn't sound like a real part of racing. It's very stupid.
The thing is it's not a gimmick, but it's part of the balance of performance side of it. What it does is it sits here and says, Greg, your engine with your hybrid is supposed to use this much energy per lap, assuming a average good lap with no incidents, no running over curbs or anything. This is what your car should be using every single lap. We want the cars to have X amount of laps between refuelings. Or which, again, to me, so they say, okay, a full tank will get you 10 laps at Le Mans or something, right? Just to make the math easy. And it's, again, a way of balancing the performance. What it really is there to do is to make sure that, you remember the old Celica turbo cheat back in the World Rally days that got them DQ'd?
Yes.
Where they figured out that, like, under boost pressure, if they can make a device that separates, so yeah, they have a restrictor plate on it, but they're circumventing it. This is just really a simple way of saying, we don't care if you circumvent it. We can monitor what's coming out the back, and we can go from there.
Right.
Why I don't like it is it becomes very confusing to fans, as opposed to
right.
Because, and it also, lastly, what it does is it eliminates the battles between. Over here, you have, say, the Porsche, which is a rocket. It's number one on overall pace, but it has to pit a lap earlier than, say, the BMW.
Right.
Over a 24-hour race, one extra lap per stop could mean one fewer pit stop. So the Porsche might jackrabbit out, but say it has a minute lead, but it has to make an extra pit stop. Like, it takes a lot of that stuff out. But while I'm not the biggest fan of it, um, what I will say is, um, what I will say about this, um, is that, uh, hold on, I want to find a list of the of all the cars. So, but what this has all done, while it makes it confusing for a fan, while it makes things like overly complicating and kind of like is almost too fair in a sense, um, what it has done is struck a chord, and OEMs are absolutely loving it.
Interesting.
So in the rule set that this Genesis occupies, you have Porsche, Acura, Cadillac, BMW, Alpine, Lamborghini, right? So you have Porsche, Acura, Cadillac, BMW, Alpine, Lamborghini. There's 6 right now racing this year. And then on the other rule set, you have people like Toyota, Ferrari, Peugeot, and Aston Martin. There are 10 OEMs right now racing in this rule set. Acura doesn't race at Le Mans because there's stupid rules involved with the WEC, the FIA, and the ACO. And Acura's like, well, we're not in Europe, so we're not going to race in Europe just to race at Le Mans. They might switch to Honda. It's a whole thing, whatever. There's 10 right there. And if you've been paying attention, Ford is coming in 2027 alongside McLaren. So that is 12 manufacturers racing at the top tier of sports car racing. No other top tier motorsport. NASCAR has 3 manufacturers. IndyCar has 1 chassis, 2 engine manufacturers. Formula One has 10 manufacturers. Like, nobody has the OEM interest that sports car racing is. And that's why it's becoming incredibly interesting, because of all of the involvement. Just think of it. If the World Endurance Championship rules require you to have 2 cars in the World Endurance Championship to be eligible for Le Mans, that's 24 cars in 2027 racing for the top spot. Minimum.
That's crazy.
Because if you're our age, it wasn't that long ago that Toyota was doing it by itself, or everybody was losing their shit when it was Toyota, Porsche, and Audi. 3 manufacturers people were losing their minds over.
Yeah.
And then for the longest time, it was Audi, and then pick a manufacturer that they were going to curb stomp for the next 2 years. Like,
Yeah. Like, it's interesting that many are involved in this, because this whole process started many years ago of manufacturers trying to like get involved, and then people bowed out, and then there were rule changes, and then there was class combinations, there was class like like justifications, and then finally they got their shit together and they're like, okay, this is what we're doing, and then everyone got on board, and it was like, oh, okay, 5 teams. Oh, but now there's 8. Oh, now there's 12. Holy shit, there's a lot of teams in this. It's like, it's been this like decade long thing, and that's finally to like come to fruition with an absurd amount of manufacturers, and that's awesome. Like, I understand like Formula One has 10 different manufacturers, but it's also in a similar way to this. It's like, okay, you have the teams, they do uh they do their own balance of power, if you will, by doing all the aerodynamics and stuff individualized to each team. So really, there's 10 unique cars,
but only like
but there's
3.
also shared engines, right? There's
Oh,
Ferraris, there's Mercedes, and there are shared things across different teams. This seems to be the most spread out in the sense. I understand that there's like shared chassis and things like that, but like they seem to be individualizing things a little bit more here.
Yeah, and like when you think about Formula One from an OEM perspective, you got Ferrari, you got Mercedes,
Yeah.
Alpine is going away, Ford is coming
Yeah.
in, Audi's
Yeah.
coming in as because Audi was on the fence because they were thinking about going back to V10s, and Audi's like nine. And frankly, the idea of the V10 wasn't ever going to work because everybody has been putting so many resources into the engine regulations for 28 or 27.
2026.
Well, next year is a new chassis. Yeah, you're right. The engine because they're reducing the hybrid systems, which
Yep.
is a topic for a whole other stream and fan set.
Oh yeah.
Because the whole concept of having to downshift on a straight to go faster doesn't make sense. It's kind of stupid in my opinion. But the thing is that, like I said, this Genesis that we're looking at, it is an Orica chassis, but the suspension is different because it has to be because the aero is different and the engine is different to the Acura or the Alpine that share, we'll say, the spine of the car. But, and this all stemmed from the fact, I think, in a very weird, sort of unexpected way, the boom in interest and the boom in popularity, like, frankly, Le Mans needs its own Drive to Survive series that just covers the holy trinity of the triple crown of endurance racing: Daytona, Sebring, and Le Mans. I think it would have the same exact effect that Drive to Survive did with Formula One, especially in this country.
Yeah.
But in a weird way, this is all thanks to Dieselgate.
That's true.
In the sense,
You can go back even further.
that so Hypercar replaced the LMP1 era car, and the LMP1s at the tail end, they were arguably the most technologically advanced race cars to ever race, Formula One cars included. I'll put it to you this way: the LMP1 operating budget for a season was the same for most F1 teams. Only instead of 22, 23, 24 races, they were doing 10. They were absurdly technical cars. The problem is that's incredibly expensive, and not for nothing. Audi showed up in 1999, started winning in 2000, and didn't stop winning for 15 years. So Toyota came along and was like,
It's pretty true.
we're going to take on Audi. And they didn't. I mean, they did, but like they didn't win. Nobody really wanted to make the financial investment just to have their, doors kicked in by Audi. Porsche came along and was real competition, but it's still part of the Volkswagen Auto Group, right? Even though their car was a completely different concept to what eventually became the R18. But then Dieselgate happens, and because the Audi was famously running diesel engines, it was like, yeah, we should probably stop that. Probably a good idea.
Yeah.
And then the economic impact killed off Porsche, so only Toyota was left, and they went to the OEMs like, come on, see, Audi's no longer here. They're like, yeah, we don't want to spend $200 million a year on a 10-race program. Figure something else out. And at the same time, IMSA was rolling around with what they called the Daytona Prototype International, which took the exact same concept as the car, this Genesis, i.e., the 4 LMP2 chassis manufacturers could get with an OEM, build a car based on the chassis with its own engine. It would have more power, all this other stuff, and that was it boomed. People loved it. So eventually, and I never thought I'd see it in my lifetime, the FIA and the ACO is like, that's actually a good idea. We should implement that. But also, we should implement this thing called Hypercar, which originally started as you remember the GT1 days? Where it was technically based on a road car, even though what ended up happening was it was a race car that they made as few changes as they could to make it street legal.
Yeah.
they wanted kind of a return to that. They were hoping that it would entice the likes of, you know, Aston Martin with the Valkyrie, which it did. But it was also, they were hoping to entice like Porsche with the 918 or whatever its successor was going to be, Ferrari with like the F80 and whatever, or whatever at the time was going to be that next Halo car, Mercedes with the Project One, the fly above your head.
It's a large moth. Like, really? It was like 40 degrees the other day. How?
Dude, bugs were bad today. I was driving by Pequest, which is a fish
Yeah.
hatchery up in our up by my way, and I
Yeah.
drove by the entrance to it, and it looked like it was, you know, like how when you're driving and it's like not snowing, but it's not raining. It's closer to snow, like not quite sleet, and like you get those big
Mm-hmm.
snowflakes just going on your windshield. That
Yeah.
was what my experience, but it was with bugs. Um,
Yuck.
yeah, I was really happy I wasn't driving the
Yuck.
Mustang.
Yeah, not good.
But at any rate, they figured out this got, and like this stuff just has exploded. To anyone who watches the stream and follows, like I think we have a person watching us at the moment.
Sweet.
So we should probably move topics.
Yeah.
But if you guys will give me another 2 to 4 hours, no, I'm kidding.
And that's all the time I have for today.
The point I'm making is that if you're not following sports car racing, you absolutely should, because it's literally your particular flavor of car. I gotta be 100% honest. I'd have to go and look at, like, you know how like you have Volkswagen Auto Group, Stellantis, all Toyota, like all these different manufacturers
Yeah.
and the companies they own. Like, I can say with like 83% confidence that I think like Volvo's like, or their parent company is like the only one not involved in sports car.
Oh, like Geely?
Yeah. Like,
I mean, you're not wrong at this point, honestly.
I'm just trying to think.
There's just
Like, Genesis was
there's a
like,
lot. There's a lot.
I mean, I guess, well, Honda was with Acura.
Yeah.
Toyota, yes. Well, I guess Mazda, no. They did try, but they're too small. Nissan, no, but that's, you know, they're a dumpster fire. But they're also. At any rate, Greg, you have news. What is it?
I do, and I'm actually looking down at my phone. That's what I've been trying to like sort of get up to speed on. So there's no transition out of that. Like, I think sports car racing is really cool, honestly, and I think that you need to be watching it. But there are other things in the sports car world that aren't going as well, and that's my transition, because we're going to talk about the Ford Mustang now, which is a sports car.
We don't. We don't do transitional material here, Greg.
No, we really don't. So news, everyone. Professor Farnsworth style. So, some unfortunate news, but I have a theory here. I have several theories, but one prevailing one. The Ford Mustang sales are down 31.6% this year compared to last year, which is not very good. And I'm reading just on my phone from a news source that I've never heard of before, but I'm not going to give them any play because I mean, these are numbers I verified.
We're
them,
going
but
to
I
use
just
it
have
as a
this
discussion point, but we're not. We don't believe they're valid.
No, they're valid. I looked up the numbers. The numbers are accurate. I just don't. I don't want to give them traffic when I think that they were just trying to get traffic on Reddit. So I'm not interested in giving them the click.
Isn't that the foundation on which Shifting Lanes was built? Reddit.
Yes, but I was also in those threads commenting and actually responding to people. I think this is just like click farming. Either way, excuse me. Yeah, so apparently units are down from 13,707 in Q1 of 2024 to 9,377 units in Q1 of 2025, a 31.6% decrease year over year.
If you read the next paragraph in the article you sent me, I will drive to your house and slap you.
Yeah, no, that honestly, that's not even part of the argument because what Chad is mentioning is that they compare this to the Mustang Mach-E, which is like you can't do that. Here he goes. Here's the deal. I hate I know Chad doesn't like it. I hate. I know Chad doesn't like it. I hate when they do this because it's not the same car.
It's like
You're
saying
comparing
it's like saying the
you're,
CRV
you're
outsold the NSX.
right, exactly. It's obnoxious and it's stupid. Like, oh, well, the Mustang Mach-E outsold. It's like, yeah, it's a commuter car. Most of the time, commuter cars are going to outsell sports cars, and I know that that's still on the uptick with the Mach-E and whatever. It doesn't matter. It's not comparable. Stop doing it. Annoying. They're saying that several factors contributed to this. The most obvious reason is the price. The base EcoBoost coupe starts at 33.5, which is actually a reasonable price for a base, pretty potent four-cylinder sports car, honestly, because the Subaru WRX base is at like 35 now. And it's freaking like, okay, well, what do you want? A four-cylinder Mustang or a WRX? And the Mustang's like 2 grand under. And it's a pretty reasonable cost for a new car. Still well under the national average by a pretty solid like 15 grand, which is insane. But they're saying the price is a factor. They're saying like the V8's too expensive. Decline in sales is the weather, particularly cold temperatures in the first 2 months of the year. Like whatever this article is saying is just a bunch of hogwash, quite frankly. And like it's also when did the new Mustang come out, Chad?
Last year.
Yeah. What happens with every single car that's a sports car since the beginning of time in its second year of sales?
It declines.
The end. That's the whole argument. Just done. Like, I love this. Like, oh, all the sales are all down. It's the sky is falling. Like, shut up. It's not falling. This literally happens with every single car, every single time it comes out. It's just so funny to me. I wanted to bring it up because I'm like, this is so stupid. Why are we rehashing these articles? We're rehashing these sales figures every single time a new car comes out. And you know what didn't have a ton of problems in its first year of a refresh or a total redesign? The 2025 Mustang.
Right. I mean, it is more refresh than redesign. It's based,
Right.
the S650 is very, very similar to the S550. It's in under the skin. Here's the thing. Number one, Mustang will always garner clicks,
Hmm.
whether it's good, whether it's bad. I remember an article years ago, 3, 4 years ago, about, oh, the Challenger's outselling the Mustang. Well, yeah. Here's the thing. It just so happened to coincide with, oh, by the way, in 2 years, we're not doing this anymore from Chrysler Stellantis, you know.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Personally, I think there's a lot of different factors that go into this. Number one, again, year 2 versus year 3. And they haven't done anything. I honestly think Mustang sales would have, I think they sort of dropped the ball or not, depending on how you look at it, by introducing everything at once. And what I mean by that is you had the base EcoBoost Mustang, the GT, the Dark Horse, and even though it's not really the same car, the GTD. I mean, it's got a completely different suspension geometry, transmission, like layout, like the whole nine.
Yeah.
The only thing that's the same is that it's a Coyote-based engine. But everything came at once. So all of the buzz was at once. Now, is it cool that you could get sort of the hot Mustang or the hotter Mustangs like day one, like the Dark Horse, instead of them trickle feed? Because it's always, right? Like new car comes out and you're like, oh, cool. What's the sporty one? Fantastic. And then the next year, oh, there's the even sportier one with more power and better suspension. Damn it. Should have waited for that. It's like, okay, the next time it happens. Okay, I waited. I got this one. Oh, damn it. There's an even no. They did it again. Right. And part of me, I like that. Like, it's like, here's the entire range, right? Like, but on the flip side, from a purely marketing standpoint, would Mustang Buzz have been better served year one? Here's your, like they've always done, here's your base EcoBoost or not V8 version. You know, for people who like Mustang, don't care about power or noise, or, you know, Sweet 16 presents. Here's your GT, and you let the GT sort of be the top dog for a year or two, and then the next year or the year before, after, or whatever, here's the Boss 302, the GT350, the Dark Horse, the Mach E or Mach Mach 1, and everything, and it generates buzz in the brand again. And then a couple years down the road, there's the hottest version of that particular chassis of Mustang, or what have you. So, like, I think that plays a part of it. And let's also not forget that there's just the economy and stuff. Inflation for the last 4 years and whatever, it's been continuously going up, which has driven the purchase price of an average car up, which then turns the sports car, the fun car, the car that's might have some practicality but isn't the most practical thing in the world, the prices to go up. So the average consumer's financial capacity is, man, I really like that new GT, but this 2-year-old GT is 10 grand cheaper. It just makes more sense to buy the used car. Or, man, I just can't afford it. Or, I'm going to save up for the Dark Horse. And we all know how saving up for a car goes. Sometimes you reach it and you get the car. Other times that day never comes. Whereas if it was more affordable up front, you're like, I can swing this. So there's that's factoring into it. I hate the fact that this article is talking about, at that price point, the Mustang must compete with rivals such as the Nissan Z, Toyota Supra, both of which offer similar performance at more attractive price points. In the base space, maybe. But, like, there are $80,000 fucking Nismo Zs floating around, which are absurd. Absurd.
Yeah, correct.
So it's a lot. Look, what are the first things that don't really sell all that well in terms of economic uncertainty? It's the sports cars. It's the supercars, right? Hypercars are in a different ballpark because they're being sold to people who, for the most part, oh, I lost $10 million. Oh, look what I found in my couch cushion. Another, it doesn't hurt them.
Right.
So there's a lot of factors.
Yeah,
I
think part of that economy thing is also like tariffs and people maybe reappropriating money that they either would have spent on a sports car and putting it elsewhere, or just buying different cars. We talked about this last time, and I think I talked about it on my reel the other day, was like, people are panic buying other things, like all the foreign cars that are about to potentially get like huge jumps in price because of tariffs on them. So they, instead of like, oh, maybe I shouldn't buy this Mustang, maybe I should buy this Supra, or maybe I should buy this family car because I need a family car instead of this Mustang. There's different things that lots of people, and like,
right, and to me,
they're considering.
Not to put it in too broad of a stroke, but that's whether it be something as like tariffs or inflation or that's why I sort of made the blanket statement of economic uncertainty.
Right.
Because it's just when you hear all of this stuff and you hear the news, and I don't want to go on too big of a rant about quote unquote the news and what the news reports and why, like, regardless of where you go, more than likely you're getting a skewed perspective, because news outlets for the most part these days aren't trying to serve you the news. They're trying to get you to click. They could give a fuck about everything else. So
They're
like,
trying to entertain you. They're not interested in giving you the news.
I don't even know it's about entertainment. Like, I think we've talked about this for probably over a decade, but
Yeah.
what most people are looking for in their news, I shouldn't say most people, but the people who are the loudest on the internet, right, are just looking for confirmation bias. You know,
For sure.
and as long as you don't flat out say, as long as you present something as quote unquote an opinion, you are free and clear of libel. So it doesn't matter if your facts are wrong. So like, there's all these
Right.
different things, and I think a lot of people, even just average folks, are getting news served to them, and it's very scary. And I'm not saying that some of this stuff isn't serious. What I'm saying is that, and I'm not even saying it's getting blown out of proportion. It's just being presented in a way, right? It's like a volcano erupts. People are like, volcano erupts near, pick Seattle, right? Like Mount St. Helens, God forbid, it goes off again.
Right.
Near Seattle. Well, compared to Frankfurt, yeah, it's near to Seattle.
Right.
You know, but so like, I think a lot of that's playing into it, and people are being like, well, I'm not really sure what to believe, or what I do believe is very scary. I only have a certain amount of money. We're living comfortably. It'd be like you right now, right? You're living comfortably. Things are okay. There's, your kids aren't on the verge of going hungry. You're not going to lose your house. Your power is on. You can afford your fancy LL Bean hats. But you have X amount put away for a sports car, but I'm not saying this is you. I'm just using your particular situation as an example. Oh my gosh, the economy. What the hell is going to happen? I'm not really sure.
Oh yeah.
Maybe I should keep this money or otherwise invest it.
Right.
Well, maybe, as opposed to putting it into a car. When I say car is the best investment you can make with it. Just saying. Especially if you pick the right one. So
No, but that's a solid point, because if you are buying a potentially new car, you're immediately sinking money into a depreciating asset. That's just the fact of.
I don't know. C6 Z06 Corvettes have
Buying a
going
Porsche,
up in
not.
price.
That's not a new car, damn it! Shut up.
It's new to you,
It's new to me. That's different. New as in off the line.
right? We're talking
No,
about
like,
the 2025.
unless you're
Mustang.
buying, right? Unless you're buying like a Porsche 911, or, I mean, I actually can't even think of another new car that doesn't depreciate like that thing. Unless you're buying a Porsche 911, it's gonna decrease in value. Just period.
Well, it depends
That's
on the
just how
911.
cars work.
If it has a GT in front of it, it will appreciate.
Well, that's correct. If it's any of the others, it will depreciate at a cataclysmically slow rate.
How is that cataclysmic? It's a good thing to depreciate slower than everything else.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just using adjectives.
Writer.
Yes, but like every other car on Earth, basically, is just like, yeah, gonna depreciate. So, I mean, I'm on board with everything you said. It's the uncertainty of it, and it's just how things are working out. I think that Mustang will be just fine,
Let me put it
and that sales will bounce back just fine.
Let me put it to you this way: if the sales numbers were as doomy and gloomy as, this flyby, I don't want to be mean, this website we haven't seen before and have yet to vet properly, is saying Ford wouldn't be filing for Boss patent or trademarks. They wouldn't be filing for the
Right.
Mach 4 trademark. They wouldn't be continuing to be going down this path of Mustang as a brand as opposed to one singular line of cars.
Right.
Right.
It also doesn't have any competition.
That's good and bad.
It's no, I know it's good and bad, but like the sales will be there. People that wanted Challengers and Chargers and Camaros, like you have one option if you're in that realm. It's the Mustang. I mean, there's other
Right.
sports cars, obviously,
That is
but
that is a conversation for. I get what you're saying, right? Like if you want a two-seater sporty car or sports car that has that American feel, brings a wisp of American muscle, or that basically front engine V8 layout that isn't six figures, the
Right.
Mustang is the only option. However, as I'm sure you well know, battle lines are drawn. So the Challenger guys are still Challenger guys, right?
I know.
The Camaro guys are still Camaro guys. Yes, the person who's not quite what's the word I'm looking for here? The person who doesn't
Indoctrinated into their cult.
I don't know if indoctrinated the right word, but like their choice in pony car is
Yeah.
they see as a direct extension of their own personality kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Well, the Mustang's your only choice. However, you got to remember, if you're getting an EcoBoost Mustang, that's when the Z's, the Supras, the other cars, even a freaking Miata comes into the equation, because if you don't care about the V8 in your V8 pony car, the world expands in a rather depressing fashion.
Right.
V8s are the best eights.
That's right.
And the last thing I'll say on this is I don't think the S650 is one of the prettiest Mustangs ever made. The GTD looks incredible. I love the way that thing looks. It looks phenomenal. I love the way the race car looks. The base car, something about it's not an ugly car. It's not a bad looking car. It's just, I think the S650 or the S550 cars, both the original and the Catfish facelift, look better. And I understand that's going to sound incredibly biased, as I've owned both generations of S550, and there might be that sentiment of I don't love it, therefore I don't know if I'm going to pay full retail for it, but in a year or two when it's used and 15-20% or whatever of the sticker price is knocked off, then it becomes a more appealing prospect.
Yeah. No, I get that. I agree with that. I agree with that.
But,
so either way, I think the Mustang is going to be just fine.
Yeah. Ain't going anywhere.
No.
I did want to touch on Sean's comment real quick.
Inline 8, yes.
It's funny you mentioned inline 8, which makes me think of not an inline 8, but a rabbit hole I've recently been going down. So if any of you watched, I think it was Tuesday's reel, I talked about the Holy Grail, and I don't mean it in the sense that the Holy Grail engine of Volkswagen is in the best thing they ever created. I mean it in the sense that it is absurdly rare, and people have been looking for it for years. And that's the W10 engine. That they famously took one of the engines and put it into an E39 M5. But that got me thinking, and I started looking around. I was like, I started listening. Oh, what does a VR5 sound like? Okay, that's pretty good. What is their power potential? Nothing on the internet. Damn it. Gonna have to talk to our friend Andrew and maybe even Keith, our two Volkswagenists, about these engines, because one of the engines that's actually starting to intrigue me, and I'm starting to think it would probably make for a really good swap candidate into almost any chassis, is the W8 that came in the Passat.
Yes. except that it is horrifically unreliable.
You are horrifically unreliable.
I mean, you're not wrong.
I mean, you've showed up
But
on how many streams this year? No, I'm totally fucking
I
with
know.
you.
That's what I'm
totally messing.
referencing. I know, but I was the one
I
that brought it
understand.
up. But no, it is like in every wagon forum I'm in, it's like, man, the W8 is the coolest thing ever. It sounds crazy. It is crazy. Blah blah blah. But everyone's like, don't ever buy it. Don't even actually get within 20 yards of it. You may fail.
Are they
It's
mechanically
bad.
unreliable, or is it the typical Volkswagen of that
It's
era?
everything.
Electrically.
Mechanically, they're unreliable too, from what I've heard. And I think it's a mixed bag. I think it's sort of like a 50-50 shot. Electronically, they're just a friggin' absolute nightmare. But like mechanically, they're just exceedingly complex for no reason, but obviously because it's a W8.
Well, also
But
Germans.
like,
Right,
I
but the
mean,
thing is
that
that
was gonna be my
here's
next
the
point with
thing: is the
Germans.
W engine has worked in, or the W engine or that VR philosophy has worked to great success in other platforms. I granted on the higher,
Sure.
like you have the W's on the higher end of the spectrum with the Bentley and obviously the
Yeah.
Veyron, and then the VR6 is one of the most legendary European engines of all time.
Yeah.
Um, Sean, I have no idea. I just went. And I was like, man, it's an 8-cylinder engine that has the length that is shorter than a V6. That'd be cool, and because it has that VR wobble, like that makes like that like pulse or whatever that makes the VR6 sound like a cross between a pissed off Supra and a Wookiee. That noise to
Yeah.
it. It
That
has
was
that.
very good, by the way. That was like you should be a voice actor. That was really a good sound clip. Damn.
That's the only engine I can do it at as accurately. I would go with um, a North Star V8, but that only sounds like disappointment. No, I'm kidding. But sort of. Um, but like, it's like, man, this opens up a lot of doors. And like, if you're swapping it, and again, we're talking about a money no object swap. It's like, fuck it. I'm just gonna pay this guy who wires every SEMA car ever, right? Like hypothetically, someone who's really good at wire, have it run by like a Motec or a Haltech or some super high end ECU. It's like, but like, no, it's always, but no, I think because I was like, I always think of what engine am I going to put in my Datsun 510 build that'll probably never happen because it's definitely going to be a 6-figure build regardless, and I'm not anywhere near that. But like, I bounced around between.
I want to see I want to see a 6-figure K motor build because that thing would be. I think that
Well, the
would be
thing
like the
is,
end of times
you
engine.
don't need to. Um, you don't need to like. Page not found. Fuck you. I literally engine complete engines, but like, where is it? There's one in here. Where's their K25? Did they get rid of the K25? Because I will be angry. But anyway, there's a company that makes like uh pissed off 360 horsepower, 9,000 RPM version of the K, and it's like 15 grand.
Mm.
Compare and contrast to just a basic Coyote crate engine, and like
Yeah, yeah. Well, right.
you know, I started thinking about that, and then it's like, man, the Honda Rasp is a thing, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm sure with with guys over at Blue Sky, for example, we could build an exhaust that doesn't have that sound and gives that sort of deep, guttural, old school 4-cylinder sound while keeping all of the things that make that engine particularly desirable. And I was like, huh, that's interesting. Then I'm like, what about a screaming, naturally aspirated Volvo 5-cylinder? It's like, that could be interesting because by all accounts,
That would be cool.
the white block that came in the P1s apparently can make 350 horsepower NA and rev pretty good, pretty easily. I've not
Yeah.
seen one, but I've talked to people like Rich Forsyth, like what it was, Jesse, the
Jesse.
person who's currently holding your Blurple Volvo at gunpoint,
Yes.
uh, or what have you. And I was like, and I've talked to both of them, and they were like, yeah, that shouldn't be a problem because again, it's 2.5 liters, right? You de-stroke it, add revs, or what have you. And I'm like thinking of that, and then there's then like the completely unhinged idea of taking a VQ 35, taking all of the pistons, conrods, crankshaft, camshafts out, bore, giving it the exact same bore and stroke, or as close as the confines of that engine will allow, to the 4-liter RS engine that comes in the GT3 Porsche. Give it the same firing order and see if we can make it sound like a GT3 RS without actually spending the six figures for that engine.
I mean, in theory, in theory, lots of things work.
I mean, in theory, it could. Like people make custom cranks, custom cams, custom stuff all the time. Is it cost
Yeah,
effective?
why
Is
not?
it cost effective? Fuck no. But again, it's
No.
my money, no object. What would I spend my money on? Thing. And the upshot is like
Right.
the front of the engine. It doesn't care what the firing order is. I could still run Nissan air conditioning, alternators, power steering pumps, like the whole nine. So it's like,
Yep.
yes, I spent way too much money on this engine, but I don't have to buy Porsche parts.
Right.
There's a funny story about buying Porsche parts from a Penske story in the past that I'll get to in a minute. But then it's like, but then I'm like, I'm here. Then I get served sound clips of you remember the guys who are taking the Hayabusa engines and making V8s out of them?
Yep.
I heard about that, and I heard about how light they are and how small they are. And I was like, that could easily make 400 horsepower without breaking a sweat. Have a red line that starts with the 1 and a 0 and has 3 other zeros after it. Like, that could, like, welcome to the mind of a car guy where, like, I have got down all of these paths. And then I was like, that's really cool. But and then if I'm building a custom engine, what else would I do? Oh, right. I have the guys, you know, the V12 LS engines that I forget who makes them. But
Oh,
there's a
yeah.
company out there who makes basically a V12 using LS architecture. And it's still a pushrod engine, you know, etc. It just has 4 extra cylinders. And I was like, huh, that's interesting. I want to pay someone an absurd amount of money to make a V10 Coyote.
I mean,
Which,
that's that sounds insane.
ruinously expensive,
And-
yes.
Ruinously expensive, yes, but again, this is also money no object, and we have infinite funds.
And then lastly, and then I have to use the restroom and check on the dog. And then lastly, I was thinking, and this is an engine that does exist. I think most of them are boosted, but the point is, I was like, all right, if I could get one of Greg's Volvo wagons back, not the one you're in front of, the, you know, well, I think it was the Etch a Sketch model. I was like, what engine would I put in that for Greg? And then I'm like, LS, Coyote, better, but no, it doesn't really the vibe. How about a Viper engine?
Viper would be cool.
How about a 9-liter Viper engine?
I mean, yes. I was also thinking of like the S600 V12 from Mercedes as the same engine as the Zonda.
Yes.
That would be wild. And it's just could you imagine just a brick Volvo going down the street with that engine and a insane exhaust, and it's still not going very fast, but it sounds like a Formula One car. Yeah.
Oh, it's still there.
It's still there, yeah. Like, oh shit, that's not fast at
Or
all.
like-
sounds very fast.
Or just make someone make a V10 using white block architecture.
Oh man, could you imagine 2 white blocks JB welded together?
No, I mean like actually
I
like
know,
a custom
I know.
billet block with water jackets, so it can actually, you know,
No, I
be
know.
a normal edge. But like these are the
That would be
fevered
crazy.
dreams that run through my head. Which
Yes. This is why we need to hit lotto.
oh, the engines that I would be playing with if I won the lottery would be absurd.
Oh yeah.
It's like
All of them.
Greg's like, hey, has anyone seen my Volvo? I, all of a sudden, you just hear a lope in the background. It's like, hey,
It's like, oh, that's where it went.
Greg, I put a big block in your Volvo. You're welcome.
And I'll just be like, thank
I
you.
put a Proline Hemi in it, so 5,000 horsepower. I mean, you can't do it for more than like a quarter mile because it doesn't have a cooling system. It is designed to run on meth. But enjoy.
Meth is its own cooling system. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So, on that note,
Yes. You go, then I go.
yes. Hold on. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, the Greg.
Me. Hello, me. Hey, speaking of blue sky, there. Logo. Um, yeah, so hello. Welcome to the yoga hour. No, I'm just kidding. That'd be insane. No one wants to see me do yoga. Um,
Are you tall enough to do yoga?
tall enough? Do you think short people not do yoga? You can, anyone can do yoga. My kids do yoga. It's the whole kids yoga thing.
But I'm
Um,
talking more torso to limb ratio. Like you're doing like downward facing dog, but really your
oh.
just nose is getting in the way because your arms can't extend further.
No. No, everything's good. I'm proportioned fine for yoga. Uh, so getting on to like piggyback on Chad's fever dream engine stuff. Like I think we talked about this another time of like what would your wild builds be? And I had listed a bunch and I have honestly forgotten all of them because my memory is dog shit recently and basically all the time now. But I mean some of like just the money no object stuff you could do and have fun with. Like I would have loved to have gone to like these guys and dropped off one of the, like the Volvos there and just been like, here, have fun. And like they could just like do what they want with it. Either throwing in like a LS or Coyote, Hemi, like anything like insane and like super crazy fun. That would have been awesome. I also would have loved to have done like a white block swap into one of them, whether it be a 5-cylinder white block, or one of the 6-cylinder ones from the what's it called? I think it was the 90, the V90 S90 series. V90s back in like the late 90s, 98, 99. I think it only had them like for 1 or 2 model years here in the US, but there's plenty of them over in Sweden, so you just get them from there. But like those inline sixes over there are basically like the Swedish 2JZ. Like that would have been really cool. I mean, Viper engines, freaking, that'd be nuts. I forget. I didn't. I'm sure Chad's still watching, but like, oh, I forget. Did someone shove a Viper engine in a Miata at this point? Like, I think yes, because I know they shoved a Hellcat in there, but I don't know if people did a Viper engine. I don't know if this is basically like the same size as the freaking Miata, so I'm not sure if that would have been a thing or if it is a thing. I forget. Um, I mean, there's so that freaking I will say that V12 from the Mercedes S600. I would love to take that engine from the Mercedes, put it in something, and then make like a Pagani Zonda powered thing. Like give that thing like the beans of, here's all of the money, make this engine go insane. That would be very cool. Um, I also would love to do the same thing with like the Aston Martin V12s from the Gaydon era of, like V12 Vantage S, Aston Martin DBS from like the Casino Royale days. I've always wanted to see what kind of power those things are capable of. And I'm sure people have done builds on them, but like there's also like a bajillion other engines that you can have things done to that's not going to be like that experimental with such an expensive car and expensive engine. But like again, this is money no object. So if I have unlimited millions of dollars, well, here's $1 million, build this engine out. Like who cares? that engine and the way those things sound with the right exhaust setup and header setup is like a screaming V12, which you don't think of when you hear Aston Martin and V12. Usually it's always this very, sporty, grunty, guttural V12 as opposed to this like high strung, crazy sounding one. I think the best sounding one I've ever heard was in person. It was a guy named Af, we know through press events and stuff like that. Did like Cars and Cafe. Or Freddy's, Tavares's, just because the exhaust system that he put on it. Like those two probably are the two best I've ever heard. And I always wanted to do it with like the V12 Vantage, the V12 Vanquish, because I think that's like one of the most beautiful cars ever made, like ever. And the V12 in that with like a really good exhaust setup, but also like doing a build on it, like that would be so freaking cool. I would love to do something like that. Oh, Sean, I'm sorry, I missed your comment. I wonder if the V12 LS is just two Atlas inline six engines together. I don't know. That would be crazy. Also, the Volvo White Block with the Japanifold has the best burble out of all the manifolds. However, I wonder what they would sound like with those crazy loopy headers. That would be pretty interesting. Which white block are you talking about? The 5 or the 6? Because I forget what the Japanifold was for. Was it for the inline 6 or was it for the white block 5s, the two 5s? I forget which one those were for. I want to say it's the 5s, but I honestly don't remember. Did they make a Japanifold for the 5s? I don't remember. My memory is terrible, so I have no idea. Yeah, I don't know. Like there's so much I want to do with like engines and swapping and builds and stuff like that. But like it's always the funds. The money is always what gets in the way. Like freaking part of the reason that I couldn't stream a couple of times in like February and March was like my basement was flooding. So I'm down there with a wet dry vac sucking water out of the freaking floating slab and behind the Bilco door or behind the stairs underneath the Bilco doors because like you know what I need to spend thousands of dollars on now? A sump pump for my basement. Cool. There's like a bunch of sports car money just like gone. So that's something that, is not an ideal scenario. But when you own a house, like, shit comes up, shit happens. So it's one of those things where you're like, okay, life kind of gets in the way and this needs to be put on hold. So, and it's also part of the reason why I still have this car, still have the XC90. We were thinking about getting a car for Kate. That's not probably in the cards anytime soon this year, maybe next year. A home, and Kate's car just had a pretty big mishap. She had a coolant hose crack. So it was,
Dun dun
pull
dun.
yeah, pull off to the side of the road. She's at the gas station, got the red triangle of death, pull over immediately or your car will explode. But it turned out just to be a coolant line cracked, not a big deal. Did a coolant flush and, right as rain, totally fine. So it was not like the biggest deal, but it's one of those things that's just like, okay, well, there's another $700 that, I wish I had back. But, cars break down. It happens. So, yeah.
Before you go,
Anyway. Oh, yes.
some
Yes.
behind the scenes. Can you
Yes,
recenter
we've been
yourself?
resized. We've been resized.
Gregson, now
Thing.
bigger.
Me in high def.
In def. I'm actually trying to look that up. But, yeah, man, I mean, I'm sure every single person watching will say, oh, man, with no money, like, or if money was no object, what would I do with a car? And I think that's, like, one of the coolest
Right.
things. And, like, arguably to a certain extent, like, I think it would be just so cool to be like, hey, since Sean and also Sean are here,
Yeah, where's the rest of the regulars, damn it?
Sean, what'd you do? Where's Mark? everyone
Yeah.
else.
Where's Anthony? Where's Doug? Where's Steve? Where's everybody?
But at any rate, like I think it would be so cool to get to a point. I don't know if we'll ever get there, but it's something. If you make goals easily obtainable, what's the point?
Right.
But I think it'd be so cool to get to a point where we can kind of do our fevered dream, and then be like,
Then.
"Hey, Sean, here's a budget. What are you thinking?" And knowing
Yeah.
Sean, he'd be like, "I want to take a Volvo 9 something and put it on an Isuzu chassis and have it work 50% of the time. Done." Sorry, low blow, Sean. I'm just I'm just I'm just joking around, but you kind of get the idea. But it's like,
Yes.
it's such a man. It's like one of those things where like, and I'm sure Greg has experienced this to some level or some degree or what have you. But like doing this for as long as we've done it, there is some element of like I reached burnout with the C30. I'll be 100% honest.
Right.
It's why I don't own the C30 anymore. It's like, man, like, but and it's like, you know, is that the type of content we want to continue making? Do we want to do new stuff? Do we want to do that? Do we want to do this? Like blah blah blah. Like we all run through that, and then it's like, and then you just sit there and play the what if game, and it's like, man, I'm passionate about cars again. Yay!
Exactly.
So
Yeah. All right. I will be right back. You entertain people.
yes. So, what embarrassing picture can we put of Greg up? Let's look. There we go. We can have angry Greg looking at me menacingly. Sean. So I was just doing some looking, and these like V12 LSs, what I think they are is they basically, instead of like you have your two pistons in the back, or two pistons in the back, two pistons in the front, and sort of like sandwiching multiple engines together, they just take those and just put more cylinders inside of it. So you basically have those inner two cylinders, instead of two of them per bank, you now have four of them, plus a cylinder on either side for the front and the back of the motor. And then just looking at it, it's $49,000, and you too can own a Raced Cast Engineering V12 LS. Let's see here. And it's let's see here. It's taking the largest of cat. So they're their own casting. So they're not, sort of mix and match engine parts or what have you. Where was I looking at? I just saw horsepower and now I've lost it. I think a Corvette at the Riddler used one of these. Where is it? There we go. Let's see here. Essentially, the standard block with 4 extra cylinders grafted onto it. It makes 800 naturally aspirated horsepower. Performance was, according to this article, performance was impressive, if not revolutionary. I mean, after a lot of testing with the Mule engines, the V12 LS has taken the next logical step and begun casting of its own 12-pot blocks. The end result will warm the heart of anyone who loves the smell of gasoline. Needless, whatever. Right now, the Wizards Down Under are working on an LS7 style heads. This means the engines built off of the 9.5 liter monsters should easily eclipse 1,000 horsepower before boost, which is freaking awesome. I think That's pretty freaking cool. And I think pretty sure General Motors. Yeah, the Chevy Corvette V12 Falconer was a C4 Corvette with a V12 engine based on, I'm pretty sure, small block architecture. But it was designed because the Viper came along with its massive 8-liter V10. And the Corvette people were like, crap, what do we do? You know? And they decided, well, 10 is good, 12 is better. They did make a Falcon Race engines. The Arizona-based builder had been putting together bespoke blocks since 1966. These are the people over at Falconer Racing Engines. Falconer's V12 engine, which is still produced by the company. Interesting. It was based on the Chevy's famed small block design and aimed specifically at the boats and planes crowd that needed that kind of power that's only available from such an enormous engine. How big was the Falconer V12? In its mightiest spec, 683 horsepower, 680 pound-feet of torque, motor checked in just under 10 liters of displacement, which to any of those who are quick at math will notice that it's almost 2 liters larger than the original Dodge with the V10, or the original Dodge V10 in the Viper, I should say. It was an aluminum block, which kept weight, quote, reasonable. The overall, it added roughly about 100 pounds than the existing LT small block. What's that? Length, as one would assume, caused more of a problem. C4J. So the C4's engine bay was just a little bit short as being able to accommodate the engine. Sports Fab was employed to extend the area ahead of the A-pillars by 8 inches to free up enough space for installation. So it's actually slightly longer. Interesting. Apparently it was a devil to drive, quote. Unmuffled side pipes were fed by the exhaust collectors through, so it had side pipes. Magazines were given the chance to drive the Falconer, and it developed a reputation for incinerating tires, overheating on the drag strip, which, I mean, let alone a road course, but on the drag strip, that's interesting of note. There was no instrumented testing due to this overheating, and GM never released any of its own internal results, claiming the V12 version of the C4 had been built exclusively for development purposes. Behind the wheel, Bruce. Yeah. So the increased production cost is what eventually killed it. At the time, the Falconer engine cost a whopping $45,000 back in the C4 era. So, assuming, like, you have to remember that the ZR1, which was double the price of a normal C4 vet, was about $58,000 to $60,000 and was having trouble finding customers. So the V12 version of this would probably have been almost quadruple the price of a base Corvette. And the test mule, let's see if it's got a decent picture. The test mule, as you can see here, there we go. I mean, apart from some, I think those are like Testarossa styled side vents, but yeah. So the idea of making 12 cylinders out of a pushrod Chevy mill is, wouldn't you know it, not a new concept. Now let's go over here. And they don't miss the price on the Falconer's website. Actually, let's just throw this. Oh, that other image was better. Hold on. That looks pretty freaking badass, though. With 12 individual throttle bodies, the tall trumpets like an old 60s race car. That looks pretty freaking awesome. What other engines did these guys make while we're going through this particular rabbit hole? They have an Chevy IRL street engine. Available in limited quantity, these 2002 season Indy Racing League engines have reconfigured for street use by Ryan Falconer. Using special camshaft profiles, reduced compression ratios, these thoroughbred racing engines, I guess you could call them that, now create over 700 horsepower with Eaton supercharging and Motec fuel injection. So they're all based off of actual racing here. L6? What is an L6? What in the world? What is this? Is this a straight 6? So it's a boat engine. A lot of the stuff is coming straight out of like boat engines and stuff. There we go. Originally was originally designed by General Motors as a thoroughbred race engine. They really like that thoroughbred describer. Purpose built to prove the reliability and power potential of their production inline 6-cylinder engines used in various truck and SUV platforms. Dubbed the L6, this engine was powered by the winning trucks at Pikes Peak. Interesting. And in off-road desert racing. This engine shares no components, bears little resemblance to the production engine. Now owns this unique power plant and be manufacturing in limited quantities. There we go again, for a variety of applications. You can also check out photo galleries. Our engines. We're finishing up the information for this page. Look for info soon. Wonderful. All right. All right, Greg's busy being a dad. Life happens, guys. Let's see here. Oh, these are... Nope. 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 All right. Oh. Oh, excuse me. It's allergy season, so like my eyes are like great. Like I don't know if it's coming through. My eyes have been puffy as all hell lately because of my body's aversion to pollen, which is a lot of fun. Let's do this. Let's go. Here come the odds. Son of a bitch. So. Where was I? Oh, right. So, as some of you may or may not know, press days over at the New York International Auto Show are happening in our third member of Shifting Lanes, Hanson, was there yesterday. And so he has some pictures, so we'll just go through and take a look. This is obviously the GMR 001 we were talking about before. Again, love the orange. This thing's there's gonna be no mistaking this car on track at any moment. I believe this is a BRZ special edition. Handling packages, body kit. I don't know, for whatever reason, these are sort of nothing burgers to me. In recent, I don't even know the word I'm looking for. I don't know, I think it's the choice of engines. A Toyota that I would 100% buy. More EV stuff. Here, let's do this. Hold on. Oh, jeez. I'm sorry. All right. Here we go. Should be careful what I hum exactly. So some of the cars. This is Palisade XRT Pro from Hyundai. Let's see here. Subaru Solterra. See if there's anything. The Equator concept, which is kind of a cool off-road sort of. What's the best word? Kind of like Genesis meets old Jeep Wagoneer type of a thing. Hatchback. The final edition of the Mark V Supra. Yay. Oh, God, that's hideous. Oh, who approved this? At any rate, there's your new Subaru Outback. New Jeep Wagoneer with wheels that look too small for it. The new Tiguan SEL R-Line Turbo. Top tier trim for the new SEL R-Line Turbo. Biggest upgrade at this upper trim level is an upgraded engine. More powerful version with 268 horsepower. An increase of 67 over other trims. And cars Elliot would like. We have an old Corvette, another Corvette, 300 SL Coupe. Hey, look, Greg's back.
Oh, I'm back. Sorry about that.
How's life being a dad?
Oh, it's just wonderful. Ugh. So, what are we talking about?
I don't know. I was going through stuff from the New York Auto Show, looking at stuff, and it's like, huh.
Oh, nice.
Because, usually my feed is, filled with stuff from press days from the auto show.
Yeah.
But, apart from Hanson texting us this morning, I had completely forgotten it was happening. Because I had no other stuff come through my feed.
Yeah,
apart from that,
anything.
Apart from that one Genesis thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't seen literally anything. But I have more news to talk about. We can talk about more news.
Cool. Let's hit me with it.
Chad, what are the top 3 selling vehicles in America every year?
I don't know. Camry, Corolla, Accord.
No. We're talking and trucks.
Oh. Ram, Silverado, F-150.
There you go. The Ram is almost out of the top 5 right now.
I know I think a lot of that has to do with the hurricane and the issues it's having.
Yes.
You know, way to go, way to
Uh,
go. Turns out when you let the French dictate what a full-size pickup truck should have, nothing good happens.
yeah. So obviously, F-150 Silverado, top two. The GMC Sierra is number six. So essentially the fancy Silverado. Um, the Honda CRV and the Toyota RAV4, two very good selling vehicles. I mean, they just are crossovers, but like people buy them. They are currently beating the Ram, like, and not by a little bit. It's like they're at like 115 and 104,000 or whatever. The Ram's at like 78. Meanwhile, the F-150 is at like
But
183,000.
based on,
So it's like it's a lot. It's a lot.
but
Like
I know, but here's the thing: those Ram buyers seem to have gone to Chevy, because if I'm reading this correctly, Ram is down 11%, and Silverado is up 12%.
yeah,
So, but
yeah. So
I mean,
like
that's crazy to me because it wasn't that long ago where Ram had surpassed Silverado,
yeah,
and they were making
it was only a couple
really,
years ago.
really good trucks. You know, they were
Yeah.
well appointed inside. They didn't feel as Tonka truck as, say, some of the Fords or the Chevys. They had a good, reliable lineup of V8 engines in them. You know, like, it just goes back to me. It's like, someone, it's like, so, Stellantis exec, yes, we're going to put the new Hurricane in the Ram as the high output engine for the half tons, and not offer a V8. Sir, some intern goes, don't you want to look at Ford when they tried to put the EcoBoost, which on paper was objectively better in every single category that's important to truck buyers, and the truck buyers didn't give a fuck?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they don't like they just want their V8 truck and they want to drive it for the next 20 years and then they want to buy another one. The end. That's how truck buyers work, and that's how they're always going to work.
Yeah. It's almost like they're a very stubborn crowd who likes the trucks for their simplicity and likes for
Yes.
what they can do, just appoint them nicely, and it's a license to print money.
Yep. Yeah. It's like they have market data on it and they just choose to ignore it every time.
It boggles my mind,
It
man. Like,
it
not
doesn't
one
make any
person I
sense.
talk to, because I happen to live in an area where a lot of the people I know are ferociously loyal to Ram.
Hmm.
And they're like, well, my next truck ain't going to be a Ram,
Yeah.
because the only V8 they offered was in the 2500, and a base,
Right.
and the price difference between a 25, like, similarly equipped, not a lot of bells and whistles, but enough to, like, have it be a nice vehicle. It's like 20 grand difference just for the truck.
It's insane.
You know, it's insane to just see someone else make the mistake. And, like, not for nothing, Ram and Stellantis had the data of, it's like, hey, we have this new, not Cummins diesel, but V6 diesel that we think people are going to like. Why is nobody buying this? Like, it's just,
Yeah.
like, it's
Because it's
crazy
not
to
a
me
V8 and diesels don't sell the same.
how we just have this repetitive history of people making, you know, those, it goes back to the old saying, like, those who do not know history are doomed to repeat it.
Hmm.
But I think it's interesting that the Equinox, and when I say interesting, I don't mean interesting at all. I just think it's like, huh, I would have thought someone else
Yeah.
like a Kia or a Hyundai or something would have slid in there, but the third best selling crossover is an Equinox.
Yeah. I was also actually kind of shocked about that. It was just like, really? That's surprising because not only is it like the third best-selling crossover, but it's also like, well, where's the Explorer? Where are these other things? And they're there, but it's just like the Equinox. I was surprised to be like the
31% compared to the start of 2024.
yeah. It's a massive uptick.
Where am I looking? Then after that, let me know if I'm reading this off the right link. I mean, I'm assuming this link of 25 best-selling cars in America was the link you sent me, because it's not
Yes.
something It's like, huh,
Correct.
interesting. Moving on.
Yeah, no, that's the one. Yeah, it's the car and driver link. Yep.
And you still, given everything that's going on, number 8, Tesla Model Y being the best-selling EV.
Mm-hmm.
But it did best-selling EV to start the year, despite sales dropping from 95,000 units that found. I don't know who wrote this. Doesn't make sense. Moving on to Toyota Camry. Huzzah! And then
Yes, Camry on there as always.
and then this one is fairly shocking. Rounding out the top 10 in 10th place, the Nissan Rogue.
Yeah, I'll tell you though, for as troubled as Nissan is, the Rogue always sells.
I mean,
Like
it's
it,
almost like if you're a car manufacturer, making that midsize compact crossover is, again, a license to print money.
right? Exactly. And even if your company is in the absolute shitter, which is basically Nissan at this point.
11, we have the Taco, which kind of makes sense because pickup trucks
Yeah.
sell awesome, but like the small pickup trucks don't.
Yeah, with just the most taco picture ever as part of it. It's just
I don't know if that's
jumping
the
off a
most.
sand dune.
I don't know if
It's
that's
great.
the most taco picture ever, because most of the time when a taco's pictured, it's some form of technical, and
Yeah.
there's something on the back that most YouTube doesn't like. I didn't. I have.
Yes.
And number 12 with 59,000 units sold, the Chevrolet Trax, a vehicle I didn't
Yeah.
know existed.
Right. I knew it existed, but I'm just like, oh, there's no way they've sold that many. No, they've sold like over 50,000 of them. I'm like, holy shit, almost 60 grand like worth of units. And I'm like, that doesn't seem right. But apparently it is.
Sorry.
Crazy.
And people are buying it. And then we have the Civic, which I guess is our
So,
best-selling
not shocking.
compact car, which
Yeah.
really tells you the shift, right? We had how many? One, two, technically three, four, five, six crossovers
Yeah.
before we got to our first compact car. When these things were kind of this and like the Corolla were like the inexpensive family car to buy when we were kids.
Yep.
Followed by its rival, the Corolla, which is then followed
Mm-hmm.
by the Hyundai Tucson, which
Yeah.
it has
Another mid-sized crossover.
back to the Nissan Sentra, which is,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that makes sense. Subaru Forester is in 17th, smack in the middle, as one would expect.
Yeah.
Then, weirdly, which is slightly outselling the Jeep Grand Cherokee.
Yeah.
Not exactly
Yeah.
things people cross. Then we have our first Explorer, which makes sense. We then the 20th best-selling car in America is a Subaru Crosstrek.
Yeah, I found it interesting actually on this list. There's 3 Subarus in sort of the quote unquote basement of this list, and the Outback is the one that sold the least, which is very weird.
I
'cause
mean, it's the
usually
most-
Subaru sells the most of those.
It's the most wagon of them, and I don't.
True.
I think that.
But I mean, for many decades, it's been their best car.
Yes.
So
Although I don't know if you saw the picture of the Outback concept at the auto show.
well, yeah, gross.
In
Not a
21st, we
fan.
have the Kia Sportage. In 22, the Tesla Model 3, orange peel, ill-fitting body panels and all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honda HRV is 23rd,
Yep.
and sales are up 8% for reasons. The Outback in 24th, which, again, just to touch on, I think the Outback sort of ushered in this age of wagon practicality, ground clearance, sort of the dawn of the crossover, right? And then people took it and started making. I think now it's a victim of its own success in the fact that it's too much of a wagon. People look at it and go, "Oh, I could fit more into my Rav4 or the Crosstrek or the whatever, based solely on
Yeah.
just looking at the vertical proportions of it.
Yeah, that's true. I agree.
And rounding out the list, arguably the vehicle Greg would buy is the
Yes.
Maverick.
Yes.
And here, hold on, I love the picture they sent because it's the Maverick. I think this is the trim,
Yeah.
but it's got like the old turbofan looking '80s wheels on it, like,
Yeah, like the least Maverick version of the Maverick.
and like the spec people are least likely to get. But
Correct. Yeah.
and I guess we'll close it out with this.
Yeah.
Which car on the top? Number one, there's not one fun car in the top 25. Sad day for
Nope.
America. Actually, the Civic. I want to tell this one story, and then I want to ask you a question, and then we'll wrap things up for the evening. So today I'm driving.
Yeah.
I'm driving by one of our local hospitals, and a guy in a white Civic Type R is like right on my bumper, like right there. And I look at it, and I'm like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And then I see him put his blinker on. I'm like, well, he's not slowing down. He's not going to do what I think he's going to do. Passes me on the double yellow in front of a hospital. Not only me, but there were 3 other cars in front of me. One shot, passes all of them. Oh, fucking moron.
Yeah, dude, that is not good. I had a similar thing happen a couple of weeks ago, and I'm on the way to something um, down Sussex into Succasunna or into Ledgewood, and I'm at the crossroads, or I'm at a light, right? And I'm just going up a hill, and there's like cars in front of me, maybe like 200 feet ahead of me. This freaking Tesla just pulls out into the turn lane and passes me at the light, like at the light intersection, and gets in front of me to have one more car to sit behind other traffic. And I'm like, does this guy not see that I've been sitting behind cars this entire time?
Yes,
Like,
but he's more important than you.
yeah, apparently.
At any rate,
Like, insane.
yeah, people are fucking morons. Like, it's
Absolute morons.
like that's the closest I come to being like calling something in. I generally
Yeah.
don't, just because like there's not much the way this guy was driving. By the time they dispatched, there's nothing really he could be long
Right.
gone or parked or whatever. Initially, I thought he was trying to get to the hospital as fast as possible, thinking, oh, maybe there's an emergency, like,
Right.
still
If he did that and then booked it into the hospital, it's like, oh, okay, maybe there's like
there's something going on. I mean, not
yeah.
for nothing. Don't do that, because you know what's great if you're going to see someone who's maybe their last moments on earth or this, that. Don't compound that by you also being in the ICU because you T-boned
Right.
an ambulance. Although if you're going to hit a vehicle, I
Right.
guess the ambulance is arguably one of the better ones. At any rate,
Yeah.
of the cars, the 25 cars on this list, Greg, who's gone, there we go. Of the 25
What
cars on
happened?
this list,
I
which
reset.
one are you most likely to buy?
Probably the Civic or the Corolla, because I know how good those chassis are, and they're fun, and they're small, and they're tossable. Um, Honorable mention to the Camry, just because it's always rock solid as a car and looks pretty decent. I would probably say the Corolla. I like the Corolla the best. I think it's the better looking one of the two. And it's just a good little car, honestly. If not that, I would probably go for the F-150 because I really like the looks of the 2025.
There you go. Fourth choice is the charm. You finally got the question correct. I mean, one of the full-size trucks. I mean, granted, it probably
Yeah.
wouldn't be like the Ram, just because, again, like
Yeah.
it's not
Meh.
even that I need a V8 in my pickup truck. I want one. I like one. I like the simplicity of my body on frame, big ass pickup truck having an engine that doesn't have. Granted, turbocharging has become incredibly reliable in this day and age, but it's an extra complication. It's one extra thing to worry about. It's one extra thing to fix. Like blah blah blah. Like, keep it simple, stupid. It's worked for decades.
Yeah.
But like the F-150, again, we've talked about it ad nauseum. Get the one with the Coyote. Get the single cab, short bed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Put a good converter in the automatic trans. Add some boost. Boom, 10-second truck.
Yeah. Pretty sick.
So
Done.
my desk just vibrated. Holy shit. Go on stream for 2 hours and the noties blow up.
Yeah, there you go.
At any rate, I think that's where we're going to wrap it. Greg, thank you
Yes.
for joining us.
Yes, as always. Kidding. As always, not always.
As always, sometimes. That's all right.
As
Like,
always,
look,
sometimes maybe.
I appreciate Greg for, being a good sport, taking the jokes, all this other sort of stuff,
yeah.
because life is a son of a bitch. And
Mm-hmm.
but to everyone who's watching, which I think is just us at the moment, thank you. And